Siegfried is a Republican strategist and author of GOP GPS. He's with me now. Now, look, I'll grant you, sir, that all politicians are allowed the hypocrisy of saying one thing in battle and another once they've lost. That's a given. They can all do that and they can all sign on to somebody else. But this was so bitter and personal and vitriolic, and Donald Trump promises to take America into such a different direction that it is hypocrisy of some of these candidates to now be signing on.
Look, some of these candidates want to have a future in Republican politics, and you're seeing that last night. If you don't pander to the base and tell them that you support Donald Trump, you're not going to have any support in 2028 when they're going to try and take on J.D. Vance. Look what happened to Mike Pence in this campaign. His support cratered because it didn't even exist. And he was out last fall. It was instant.
Right.
That's why you're seeing people come forward and do this.
Do sort of people have a sort of a diminishing respect when you have a Nikki Haley who was, I mean, she stayed in the race long after everybody else for the purpose of prosecuting a case. And now she's sort of toadying up.
Yeah. Look, politics ain't beanbag. And there's a lot of stuff that's said that is pretty hurtful and vitriolic, especially in the era of Donald Trump, where it seems to have been opened up floodgates of stuff that had been bubbling beneath the surface. But at the same time, Nikki Haley wants to go out and say have a future in the Republican Party and have her vision ultimately become the dominant thing. And you don't get there by saying bad things about Donald Trump and then not trying to make up because you just won't have a shot at bringing your vision in because you won't be taken seriously by the base of the party.
So let's look at Vance. Great story, very telegenic. In a sense, he's exactly what the Republican Party wants to look, put forward. But it is a ticket of two white men, one from the Midwest, one from the East. And it's not, I mean, what does Vance give this ticket?
Well, you talked earlier about how he doesn't bring something to the table that like the South. I actually think he does bring stuff to the table. His background is particularly helpful in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and you can argue throughout the vast majority of Middle America. His life story is a complete opposite of Donald Trump's. He understands what many voters have gone through or are currently going through. He understands poverty. He understands addiction. He understands sacrifice. He served in the Marines, and he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, went to the Ohio State University, and then he did go to Yale Law School, where he met his wife, Usha, who will introduce him tonight. But I think it actually... Go ahead.
And made a small fortune on the way through the financial industry. I mean, you have two very wealthy men, two very wealthy white men at the top of the Democratic Party. It's hardly representative of America.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, this election is about Middle America and those particular places. And we're going to hear J.D. Vance talk to the very big economic concerns of these Americans out there. There are Americans who still are trying to figure out how are they going to pay the bills month to month. Inflation is starting to cool, but it's still a major problem because we're still paying more. And that's a huge issue. And J.D. Vance is going to go out tonight. Go ahead, please.
Evan, are you sometimes... I mean, it's very impressive, don't get me wrong, but it's weird that there are so many people who support Donald Trump that wouldn't be his natural constituency, whether it be immigrants, whether it be the poor or black, whether it be... There's a whole range of people that you wouldn't have thought be his natural constituency of a billionaire, but they are moving rapidly towards his direction. I suppose in Britain, you're familiar with British politics, we used to call them the aspirational Tories, Labour voters who aspired to be conservatives. But you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Look, people do want to see themselves get better, but also this election is a referendum on Joe Biden and in the last 4 years. People have not felt that this country is going in the right track. And we're seeing it over and over again. Joe Biden's policies are just not sinking in as being successful for Americans. That's why J.D. Vance has been put on the ticket. Additionally, I've been a fierce Trump critic, and I probably will continue to be. He does not have my vote. I don't believe in him. But J.D. Vance has one advantage here, which Democrats have actually been promoting without realizing it. He was a fierce, never Trump Republican. And he said some very, very strong things against Donald Trump in 2016. But he has gone from skeptic to actual supporter in several years. And why is that important?
That's just hypocrisy. That's
just
hypocrisy, Evan. Donald Trump has not changed the leopard has not changed his spots. Therefore, Vance has compromised his earlier views.
If you listen to J.D. Vance, you'll hear him say that or I wouldn't call it hypocrisy. You'll hear him say, look, I was a skeptic, but then I started listening and then I understood why. And I was initially wrong. And you can say you're wrong. Donald Trump has not changed his spots. And Donald Trump will never say, or the words, I'm wrong. But J.D. Vance did.
Evan, I have one final request. Will you be a friend of Quest Means Business and come back more often as we head towards the election, because so that we can,
of course,
we can give you a good grilling.
Happy to be raked over the coals, Richard.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.